Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about the recent judgment that has been given by the New York court where Donald Trump has become the first US president to be sentenced as a felon. However, no punishment has been given to him. So what is this entire issue? What was the charges against the president-elect Trump and how this particular sentencing of him as a felon is going to impact various spheres of his life? Let us try to examine this in more detail. Now, recently, Juan Merchan as we can call, he is the judge in the corresponding case and he has basically said that President-elect Donald Trump will not have to go to jail, pay a fine or perform any kind of community service. That means in other way we can say that he has been granted what we can refer as unconditional discharge. The total number of convictions that were imposed upon him was 34 and the most important one of that was falsifying of business records for fuzzing of transactions. Now why this was done we'll discuss in the later part of the video. However, since he has not received any punishment, but one thing that we have to understand is unless and until the conviction on him, especially related to the falsifying of business record, is not overturned, Trump will sit to remain what we can call as a felon and he will have a felony on his criminal record even when he take office or oath to the office of president in the coming few days. Now the term here that we are continuously talking about is felon. So what is or who is a felon? A felon is obviously a person who has been charged and convicted of a felony. Now, if we talk about the crimes in the United States, generally it is classified into two categories. One is misdemeanor and other is the felony. Now, misdemeanor are what we can also refer as a minor crime. Example of those can be driving under intoxication or possession of drugs, or for example, we can say assaulting someone but not amounting to a grave threat, or we can say serious damage. So those cases are example of misdemeanor. Felony, on the other hand, refers to a much more serious nature of crime. And those cases, if convicted, the accused is generally punishable by imprisonment at least for over a year, and also other severe penalties can be imposed upon him. And that is why it is distinguished from the lesser crimes such as the misdemeanor. So the charges that were on the basis of which the President Trump was convicted was kind of a felony. Now, if we talk about the entire details of this particular case, so in this context, the Justice Juan has said that before sentencing or before announcing or imposing any kind of punishment on the president, he has to take into account the aggravating factors. However, at the same time, he also maintained his position that Mr. Trump, since he has been elected as a president in the elections held few years back, he enjoys a certain legal protection due to the office which he is holding. And this factor overrides all other factors. And that is why obviously since the Trump is going to become the president, you cannot jail the president. That will be something that is considered as a factor, and on that basis no sentence has been imposed on him or has been imposed on him basically. Despite the extraordinary breadth of those protection, however, the judge also has mentioned that one power they did not provide is the power to erase a jury verdict. So no matter whether the president, whether Trump becomes president or not, which he obviously is going to become, so he even after becoming president, he will not have the power to erase a jury verdict, and that is why the charge of felony will be kept on his criminal records. Now the question comes that what this entire case was all about. Popularly, this case is referred as hush money case related to the year 2016. In this context, the prosecutors have said that Donald Trump has given a payoff amounting to 130,000 US dollar to a porn actor that was Stormy Daniels. The reason why he gave this money was to ensure that Stormy Daniels do not come into the public and says that the President Trump had relations with her, and this was something that was about a decade back. That means in the year 2006 and 2007. So by doing so, he has fuzzed the business record to veil this transaction. That means transaction, actually the money that was paid off to the porn actor, it has been basically classified and categorized as some other expenses. So this was something that prosecutors have said is akin to a serious offense. So serious offense that have caused extensive harm to the sanctity of electoral process. Why harm to the sanctity of electoral process? Because The public has a full right to know about the candidate, his past, what kind of mistakes or what kind of crimes he has committed, if any. So this was something that was not brought to the public because of this payoff. So the decision that was taken by public to vote for him was not based on what you can call as the entire facts. And this is something that it also put to test the integrity of New York's financial marketplace. And overall, what we can understand is that it was considered as a part of wider effort by the Trump to keep voters from hearing about his alleged extramarital escapades. Now, this was the overall, what you can say, point that was put forward by the prosecutors in this case. Now, the question comes that now he has been charged as a felon. What is going to be the potential implications on his life? If you look at the voting, will President Trump able to vote even after he has charged as felon? The answer is yes, because Trump is registered in the Florida and there he remains eligible despite his felony conviction. As far as the state law of Florida is concerned, it basically restores the voting right to most of the felons even after completing their sentence. Exceptions are murder cases or sex offenses which requires clemency, that requires kind of pardon all. So obviously Trump is not accused of any of this or convicted of any of this. And also if we talk about the Trump's case was in the New York court and voting rights here are restored upon the release, and since Trump has been released, he retains his eligibility to vote in the Florida. So in essence, voting right is not going to be affected. Second question is that how it is going to affect his gun wielding right. Now here is where we can see the impact, because as far as the federal law is concerned, it prohibits felons from possessing firearms. So yes, Donald Trump cannot have firearms at least registered in his own name. Not only that, one other implications will be that president might have to give a DNA sample to be added in the state's crime data bank. The state we are talking about is the state of New York, which later on is linked to the FBI's DNA index system. And this is a very, very crucial system, especially for the investigation and solving of the crimes in the United States, because technology then compare these profiles with the DNA that might have been picked up from some of the crime scene, and based on then it helps in identifying the suspects in the unsolved cases. So there he will have to deposit his sample, the sample largely taken by swabbing the cheeks of the person. Third impact we can understand is whether he will be able to hold office or not. As you know that he is going to take oath to the president's office. So answer is yes. Despite being charged as a felon, as per the US federal law is concerned, it does not prevent a person convicted of a crime from becoming president. Also, as far as the state laws are concerned, it varies from state to state in the United States, with a person with a criminal record can run for a state or local offices, with some requiring a pardon or expungement. Pardon is largely in the case of a state is a power given to the governor of the state, and expungement refers to the removing or removal of the what you can call as the crime from the crime seat of the person or history seat of the person. However, there are no such restrictions for federal office. So as long as the federal office is concerned, which presidency is a part of or type of, he will have no such restriction. Now, what about international travel and businesses? Now, as Donald Trump is going to become president, he will be the holder of diplomatic passport of the United States of America, and as such, as diplomatic passport is concerned, there are very less restriction imposed by any country. Some of the countries such as Canada might impose restriction on the felons who have been convicted of felony in the United States, but again the diplomatic passport of President Donald Trump will not fall under that ambit. So in the essence, he will not have any problem in international travel as a leader or head of the state of the United States of America. Now, what about the business opportunities? So, several impact we can think of or see of in the business opportunity sense. For example, if one person is convicted as a felon, he may be barred from holding a liquor licenses. However, his businesses, the pubs and bars that he is running, will not be affected because it is not directly connected to him as an individual. Second impact will be that it can prevent him in the future from entering into the casino business, as individuals with criminal records typically cannot obtain gaming licenses. Now, as of now, President Trump in his own name do not have any such kind of casino business. In earlier time, he used to have casinos in the Atlantic City, but no longer does. So maybe in the future, we might see the impact of this judgment in these areas, but as of now, no. Now, the question comes that even after being charged as a felon, is there a possibility he might get a pardon in the future? Now, that to a large extent depends on from which party of the United States, governor of the New York is elected. For example, as of now, the governor of New York is Kathy Hochul, who is a Democrat, and it seems very unlikely that she will use her powers to pardon president. And in this context, when a media house has asked her about it, she did not confirm or deny it, but she has emphasized that the pardon process requires factors like remorse. It cannot be selectively given just because a person is influencer. So directly hinting that unless and until Trump shows remorse for the crime that he has committed or is convicted of, the pardoning is something that is a far-fetched deal. So presidential pardon anyway will not apply here because these apply to the federal crimes only, while the President Trump has been charged in the court of New York for the state crime, and that is why it is only the governor who can pardon him. So that is all about this particular video. I hope you got the idea about the recent case and the sentencing of President Trump and how it will have any kind of impact going ahead from now. Thank you very much.